All right guys, so let's take a look at this crank, and honestly I can tell you right now, this is junk already. Look at these two rods, they're black, so it means that they got so hot that they turned black. See, that's a rod knock right here. So that is a rod knock right here, and this one's probably frozen in there. What's up everybody, welcome to my channel. Today I'm gonna be working on the Kia Sorento engine. On the last video I pulled it out of the car, I started taking it apart. I did not completely take it apart, I wanted to save it for this video. I just put it on the engine stand. I got the car up here on the lift, so that one's gonna stay there. Later on I'm gonna clean the engine bay and a couple of other things, but as of right now it's just gonna stay in the lift, and I put another car on the bottom so that I have more room. I have a mess in my shop, and for now I gotta make it work. So I'm gonna be taking this engine completely apart. I'm gonna remove the covers, the oil pan, I'm gonna remove the head, I'm gonna take out the pistons to inspect them and the crankshaft, and pretty much I'm gonna rebuild the whole thing. I'm gonna take the engine to the machine shop. I'm gonna have them do the bottom end and the head, then I'm just gonna put everything together. Before I pulled it out of the car, it was making a noise and it had a misfire. I checked it and the misfire came from cylinder number 1. The second thing I noticed is that it was low on oil, so I kept on adding oil, and I actually noticed that the sensor, the oil pressure switch, I mean, it was leaking a lot of oil. So right here you're able to see that there's oil coming out of the oil pressure switch, so I'm gonna be replacing that. I'm also gonna try to get all the gaskets and seals. There's a couple of o-rings on the solenoids. I'm gonna see if I'm able to get those so that I can replace them, but sometimes those o-rings are kind of hard to find. So I'm gonna go ahead and grab some cardboard, and I'm gonna drain whatever oil is left in the engine, and I'm pretty sure it has some antifreeze. There's a little bit of antifreeze right here, so I'm gonna try to drain everything so that I don't make a mess, but this shouldn't take long. These engines are pretty simple, so hopefully I'm able to take it apart within an hour. All right guys, so as you can see, I already put a cardboard and I put an oil pan just in case I spill oil. I don't want to make a mess on the floor and then I have to clean it. Honestly, I don't like to clean oil spills, I hate it, so I'd rather just avoid them. And once I'm finished, I mean, I'll just clean whatever oil's on the tray and then I'll throw the cardboard away. So I'm gonna start by taking the valve cover off. It's a bunch of 10 millimeters, so I'm gonna go ahead and take all of those off. I think I'm gonna start from here and then just go inside, and then I'm gonna remove all the sensors. So I got a couple of solenoids, sensors, and brackets. I'm just gonna take everything off. Then I'm gonna turn it over. I gotta remove the oil pan. Before I do, I'm gonna try to drain as much as I can because I'm pretty sure there's still coolant and oil. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna remove this bolt. Let's see if it still has coolant. I'm gonna, well, apparently there's not that much coolant anymore. Alright guys, so if you guys are working on this kind of stands that only have 3 wheels, I recommend you guys are careful because they're not stable. I mean, not stable enough like those that have 4 wheels. Honestly, I don't like using these ones, but in this case I don't have an extra one, so I have no choice. Alright, so I'm gonna start removing all the sensors, brackets, and solenoids, and I'm gonna throw them in this basket. So I'm gonna grab my 10. I'm gonna use the impact. This is an electric impact, so I mean, when taking it off, it's not a big deal if you use this. Well, this is not even a 10, that's a Torx. So I'm gonna start with this one right here. And I mean, you could pry them off, but you gotta be careful. So I'm gonna grab a screwdriver so I can pry it off. Make sure you don't bend anything or damage anything. Here's my solenoid, and as you can see, there's metal right here. So there's a lot of metal here. I don't know if you guys are able to see the metal, but I think I'm gonna have to get another solenoid. I'm not gonna use this, you know, definitely not. So just by looking at the solenoid, I know there's gonna be something worn out inside. It might be a rod bearing, a main, or something else. We'll find out right now. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna remove my cam sensor. Man, this one there, it doesn't look like there's any metal in here, so I'm just gonna put it on the side, and let's go ahead and remove the brackets. So, well, that's gonna be a 12. I gotta change it to a 12. So I'm gonna go ahead and just change the socket to a 12. Here it is. And I'm just gonna try to keep everything together so that when I put it back, I mean, it's a lot faster. Okay. I'm gonna go back to the 10 and I'm gonna start removing. I'm gonna remove this last sensor over here. I'm just gonna pry it off, and just when you pry it off, just be careful. You don't want to break it. There it is. And there's metal on this one as well. Now I'm gonna start removing my valve cover. Before I actually, you know what, I'm gonna remove the valve cover, then I'm gonna remove the spark plugs. I might replace the valve cover because it's plastic, and sometimes with the heat it'll bend or it'll twist, it'll deform, and when you put them back, they don't seal properly. So in case you wonder why you replace the valve cover gasket and it's still leaking, it's because it's plastic, and after a while with the heat and everything, they deform. They're not straight anymore. So when you put them on, sometimes they leak. But I mean, I'm gonna check it with a straight edge. If it's still okay, I might reuse it. Well, depending on how much it costs. If it's like $100, I'll just buy a new one. So I'm gonna remove these ones too, because these are for the pump, and this should be the last one. All right, and I'm just gonna keep these ones together. That way I know that these are for the valve cover. So I'm gonna pry it off. I'm gonna be careful not to break it because it's plastic. So, and I might be forgetting another bolt, so I'm gonna be careful. I'm not gonna force it. Well, actually, I think that was all of them because it's coming off no problem. So this gasket, I'm not gonna reuse it for sure. I'm gonna get a new one. So I'm just gonna throw this on the floor, and this other gasket for the pressure pump, I'm not reusing either. All right, so I'm gonna take a look inside, and honestly, the cams, they still look okay. So I'm not gonna mess with the cams. I think I could reuse them. Now I'm gonna take this bracket off. For this bracket, I'm gonna break it loose with the ratchet. Then I'm gonna use the impact to completely take them off. Sometimes they're pretty tight and I don't wanna force my impact. So I mean, this one, it wasn't that bad. So let's go ahead and take this bracket off. And I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna break it loose. So I'm just gonna try to be careful not to damage anything. There it is. It has like a lifter and it doesn't look that bad. And I'm gonna leave it exactly the way it is. That way when I put it back, I don't have a problem. So I'm gonna go ahead and remove the front cover, and I think I might get away and remove the head. Then I'm gonna remove the oil pan. You know what, guys? There is a bracket right here. I'm gonna go ahead and take it off. It has 4 12mm bolts. So I'm gonna go ahead and take those off. Then I'm gonna be able to access the bolts underneath the front cover. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and remove the bracket. So here's my bracket, and I'm just gonna leave the bolts there. That way I know they come from the bracket. Now I'm gonna go ahead and remove the ones on the bottom. And there should only be 4. So 1, 2, 3, and here's the 4th one. I'm gonna keep those here. That way I know they come from the bottom. Now I'm gonna go ahead and start taking the rest of them off. So the cover has a mix of 12mm and 10. I'm gonna start removing the 12s from the top, the bottom, and then I'm gonna work my way to the middle. And towards the middle, it looks like all of them are gonna be 10. I'm gonna go ahead and start taking them off. And you know what? I'm gonna take them off because they should all be the same size, the same length. So I'm just gonna take all of them off. I'm just gonna try to keep these ones together. That way I know that they come from the front. And let's switch it to the 10. All right, so that should be all of them. I'm gonna double check. These ones are for the cover. I don't think I have to take these off yet. I think everything's gonna come off together. So now I'm gonna be careful. I'm gonna grab my screwdriver and I'm gonna pry it off. I'm gonna try not to break it because these covers, I'm pretty sure they're expensive. All the engines, most of the time, they have a spot where you can pry it off. So this one, you could pry it off from here and from down here. And I think you could probably pry it off from here as well. And on this side, I mean, if you look around, it's gonna have, see it right here, you could probably tap it with a hammer, and right here you could actually pry it off. So I'm gonna start from the top and work my way down. So I'm gonna start with this one right here. And when you pry it off, just be careful, don't put a lot of pressure. If you just pry it off by hand and it doesn't come off, it means that there's a bolt holding it. So don't force it, just look around and make sure you got all the bolts off. I mean, this one is coming off pretty easy. See, so I almost got it off. And right here, I'm just gonna push it out because, like I said, don't ever force it. And I could already see oil on, I could already see oil in there. So there it is. It's off. And there it is. So there is I mean, I don't know if this is like metal debris or I don't even know what this is, but I'm gonna find out later on. I don't think that's grease, but oh well. We'll figure it out. Now I'm gonna check the chain. I mean, the chain seems to be fine. They even added an oil squirt right here. I mean, there is oil inside of the engine. Apparently, I did not drain the oil, so I'm gonna have to drain it right now. I'm gonna go ahead and grab another oil pan, and I'm gonna drain the oil before I continue working on the engine. Okay, so I got my oil pan. I'm gonna start draining the oil. I'm gonna try not to make a mess, but we'll see. So apparently I did not drain the oil. So I'm gonna let it drain. I'm gonna start removing this front piece. So all I gotta do is remove these 4 bolts. I don't think it's gonna affect anything. I could just take it off. I'm gonna try not to remove the cams from the head. I'm gonna see if I can pull everything out in one piece. I'm not even gonna worry about the timing because I'm taking it apart. So whenever I gotta put it back together, I'll check online. It should not be a big deal to set the timing on this. So I'm gonna go ahead and remove this piece. So I'm gonna break him loose. Now I should be able to use that impact. And I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna pry it off. Like I said before, I'm gonna be careful not to break it. So let's see. I'm gonna see if I can pry it off from here. There it is. And this thing comes off. I'm gonna put it on the floor. So I'm able to get to my head bolts. These might be on the way, just on this side. And the last one, I'm gonna see if I can rotate it and if I can get to the last bolt without having to remove the cam. But on this side, you know what guys, I'm just gonna go ahead and play it safe. I'm gonna remove the cam. But before I do, I'm gonna remove my timing belt. I'm gonna make sure the pistons are not on top dead center because I don't want to damage any valves. The motor is already messed up. I don't know what it has. I don't know what the problem is, but I don't want to cause extra problems. So I'm gonna go ahead and remove the timing belt, but I'm gonna make sure that the piston is not on top dead center, that actually none of the pistons are on top dead center. So I'm gonna go ahead and remove the spark plugs. So here's one of my spark plugs, and I mean, I don't know what to think of it. This one has a lot of carbon. I mean they don't look that bad. They do have carbon, but that could be because of the fuel that they were using. But I mean, we'll see right now. So number one, the one that it was misfiring, it has a different spark plug. It has a AC Delco. So apparently they replaced the spark plug. They thought it was the spark plug, but apparently that didn't fix the problem. All right, next I'm gonna make sure none of the pistons are on top dead center. Okay, that one's not on top dead center. I could feel it. Yeah, apparently none of the pistons are on top dead center. So what you have to do is put something inside, and you gotta turn the crank, and then once you see this comes all the way up and then starts going down, that will let you know that the piston is on top dead center. So you bring it down about half an inch. If this piston is half an inch from top dead center, that means that none of the other pistons are gonna be on top dead center. So I'm gonna start removing the timing belt, then I'm gonna get to the caps. All right guys, I thought I was recording, but I wasn't. I already removed the cams, and here's the caps. So the cams, they look pretty good. This is the exhaust, and the exhaust, I mean, it's not scored or anything. It looks okay. I could reuse this. There was plenty of oil. I'm able to get to the head bolts. So I'm gonna start removing the head bolts, and I should be able to remove the head. All right guys, so I'm gonna try to break the head bolts off by hand. I'm just gonna use this long ratchet. I welded it together because I kind of lost the pin that keeps it together, so I just welded it together. I'm gonna see if I'm able to do it with this. If not, I'm gonna get a pipe and I'm just gonna break them loose with the pipe. But let's see if I'm able to do it with this. And since I only have 3 wheels, this could tip over and fall, so I'm gonna be careful not to drop the engine. So I'm gonna start with this one, and look, I have a bearing right here. I'm gonna take that bearing off. So I'm just gonna put that bearing on the side. Let's start breaking loose the head bolts. Okay, so I'm gonna grab a bigger ratchet, and I'm just gonna put an extension to make it easier for myself. All right, so I should be able to break them loose with this. And like I said before, I'm just gonna be careful because I don't want to drop the engine. So let's see if this works better. There it is. Let's go ahead and do the next one. And I got 2 more. The 2 last ones. All right, let's break them loose. Let's break them loose. Oh my God, I'm tired. Here goes the last one. There it is. All right, so I'm gonna put this away. All right, so now I'm able to use the impact to take them off. So I'm gonna go ahead and take them off with the impact. All right, so I'm gonna take them off with a magnet. And don't forget the washers. I'm gonna buy new head bolts. If the engine is good and I'm able to rebuild it, I will buy new head bolts. I'm not gonna reuse these ones. Well, actually, if you kind of force, if you push it to one side, you could actually take it off with the washer. So you could just push it that way and the washer comes off. You could either push it to one way or the other. It's a lot easier and a lot faster. There it is. I think that's all of them. Yep, that's all of them. Okay, I should be able to remove the head now. I'm gonna grab another piece of cardboard so I can put it on the floor because they're leaking a lot of oil and I have no more room over here. I mean, I could put it on the back, but it's gonna leak a lot of oil, so I don't want to make a mess. I'm gonna go ahead and grab another piece of cardboard and I'm gonna put it on the side. I got my cardboard. Now I'm gonna pry the head off and I'm gonna put it right there. I'm gonna go ahead and inspect it because there's a problem on cylinder 1 and I'm 100% sure it's gonna be on the head. But before I take it off, I'm gonna throw the cams back on and the caps, because honestly I'm just gonna take the whole thing to the machine shop. I don't need to keep them separate. So I'm just gonna go ahead and put everything back on. I'm gonna throw the other one back on. Okay, now that I put my cams back on, I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna pry it off and I'm gonna put it on the floor. So, I mean, this one's already off. I'm just gonna make sure nothing is holding it. No, it's already off. So, I'm gonna be careful and I'm gonna put it on the floor. So there it is. Now I'm gonna go ahead and check the piston, and the pistons, they seem to be fine. Let me remove the head gasket. All right, so I mean, the pistons, they seem to be okay. So I'm gonna go ahead and check the head. All right, so I'm gonna turn the head over. I know there's gonna be a damaged valve because it had a misfire, so there's definitely something wrong with it. And there it is, guys. I don't know if you're able to see it, but here's the problem. So you're able to see the broken valve right here. All right, so as of now, I am gonna remove the oil pan on the engine. I'm gonna check one of the mains. If everything is okay, I'm not gonna do anything to the motor. I'm just gonna go ahead and fix the valve, and I'm just gonna put everything back together. But I am gonna make sure the engine is fine. Okay, so this is what I'm gonna do next. Honestly, if I don't have to rebuild it, I'm not gonna go ahead and rebuild it. I'm just gonna take care of the head. So I'm gonna flip it around. I'm gonna remove the oil pan, and if there's no metal debris, I'm just gonna put it back on. Then I'm gonna check the rings. I'm just gonna put fluid inside of the cylinders. Then I'm gonna come back tomorrow, check. If there's still coolant in the cylinders, it means the rings are still sealing. So all of the walls, they look pretty good. I just gotta clean the block. And if everything looks good, I'm just gonna take care of the head and I'm gonna put everything back together. So I'm gonna go ahead and remove the oil pan. If I see any metal debris, I'm just gonna take the whole thing apart. If it looks clean, I'm just gonna take care of the head, clean everything else, and put it back together. But I mean, so far, it doesn't look that bad. So I'm just gonna take all of the tents off. And I already broke them loose, so that's why I'm able to take them off, no problem. I'm gonna put them on the side right here. And these ones, they're 12 point and they're 12 millimeters. So I got it, I have it over here. So it's this one right here. These ones, they go all the way to the block. So I'm gonna keep them all together. I'll keep these ones over here. Now I'm gonna remove my oil pan and I'm gonna have to pry it off as well. So I'm gonna do my best not to bend it that much. I know I'm still gonna bend it, but I'm gonna try not to bend it that much. If anything, I'll just get a new one. I'm gonna use this. There's no other way around it, so. I mean, it's really stuck in there. I don't like doing it like this, but see, you end up damaging it. But there's no other way around it, honestly. It's like glued in there, so yeah, I'm just gonna get a replacement. There it is. Now I gotta do the other side, but let me see if I can pull it from this side. There it is. Alright guys, so there is metal in here. There's a lot of metal. So I'm gonna end up taking it all apart. So I'm gonna remove the chain, the tensioner, and the guides. Then I'm gonna take off the oil pump. And apparently the oil pump probably goes all the way across to the block. So this, most likely, it's part of the main as well. I'm just gonna try to be careful when taking it apart. Alright, so I'm gonna start breaking everything loose. I don't have to worry about the timing. I'll worry about that later when I put it back together. So just gotta take this off. I'm gonna go ahead and use my impact. And I don't have to worry about where everything goes because I'm actually recording everything. So if I have any doubts, I can come back to the video and double check everything. I'm gonna remove the tensioner too. Oh, alright guys, so be careful when removing the tensioner because everything flies out, which I don't care because I'm replacing it. Okay, so when removing the tensioner, be careful because piston might fly out, which I don't really care because I'm putting a new one anyways, but and you just want to avoid hitting something. So I'm gonna put this on the side and I should be able to remove the chain, hopefully. No, I'm not gonna be able to remove the chain, so I gotta take this off. I'm gonna go ahead and use the impact to take this off. Okay, so this is a 17. I should hold it. I'm gonna try to hold it, but just be careful because if it spins, it grabs your finger, it's gonna hurt. So I'm gonna see if I'm able to break it loose. There it is, simple as that. All right, so I'm gonna just put that on the side. I'm gonna close these drawers because I don't want my toolbox to fall. So I'm gonna keep these gears together. I'm just gonna keep everything together. I'm gonna get zip ties. All right, so I'm gonna get 2 zip ties and I'm just gonna keep everything together. Let me go ahead and grab my zip ties. So I got my zip ties right here, and I'm just gonna go ahead. It doesn't have to be exact because I'm gonna do the timing on it just so that I don't lose anything, and I put it exactly the way it is. Now I'm gonna go ahead and remove the oil pump, and I can see the mains right here, and it's not one unit with the upper piece of the oil pan. So I'm gonna go ahead and remove the pump, then I'm gonna completely remove the oil pan. So let me see if it's a 12. I got my 12 over here. Yep, it is a 12, and honestly I'm just gonna go ahead and use the impact for this. You're not supposed to use the impact, but since I'm taking it apart, as long as you don't break anything, you should be fine. So I thought it was 8 and there's actually 7. Well, let's see if it breaks loose. Oh, it did. Let's take this off, and I'm gonna put it on the side. All right, so all I gotta do now is I'm gonna go ahead and remove the upper side of the oil pan. I didn't take it off in the sequence I was supposed to, but since I'm taking it apart, it doesn't really matter. I mean, supposedly they warp, but I mean, it's aluminum, it's flexible, so let's just take all of them off. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and break these loose, and it's the same process. Just be careful, don't break anything. No, I'll try not to, at least. So I mean, it doesn't want to come off. I'm gonna give it a couple of tries. If it doesn't break loose, it means that there's more bolts holding it. So there's another bolt right here, and I couldn't see it because there's oil, and on this side and on this side there's no more bolts. So there's one last bolt right here, and there's a bunch of oil. That's why I couldn't see it. So let's go ahead and take that off. There's a lot of oil. Feel that oil. And here it is. That should be it. I shouldn't have any more. I shouldn't have any more bolts. That should be the last one. Let's try to break it loose again. All right, let me see. And there it is. And I'm running out of room. I'm just gonna put it down here for now. All right. Okay, so all right guys, so let's take a look at this crank. And honestly, I can tell you right now, this is junk already. Look at these two rods. They're black. So it means that they got so hot that they turned black. See, that's a rod knock right here. So that is a rod knock right here. And this one's probably frozen in there. I'm gonna finish taking it apart. I'm gonna take it to the machine shop. I'm gonna see if I can get a crank, and I'm just gonna replace all the pistons and rods. Hopefully it's not that expensive, because so far the oil pump is like $300, and I gotta get another solenoid, I gotta get another oil pressure switch, and I might get an oil pan and a valve cover. I'm trying to keep this engine build as cheap as possible. So far it's not looking good. I'm gonna go ahead and disconnect the rods. I'm gonna remove the pistons. Then I'm gonna remove the mains. I'm also gonna remove the crankshaft. I already know that two of the pistons, they're junk, and also the crankshaft. I'm not even gonna worry about it. I just wanna remove them just to take a look at the condition of them. And I'm gonna have to find another crank and replace those rods. All right, so I already broke them loose. I'm just gonna completely take them off. And I'm not even gonna care where they go, because I'm not reusing this. So I'm just gonna take all of them off already. And this one's really bad. I don't think I'm gonna be able to save this. No, definitely not. I'm not gonna be able to save this crank. As you can see right here, there's no way around that one. So let's go ahead and take this off. This one right here, guys, is really bad. So let's go ahead and take the mains so I can remove the crankshaft. All right, I broke all of the mains loose. I'm gonna go ahead and take them off. So there's one. And the mains, honestly, they don't look that bad. Too bad the crank is no good anymore. Okay, so I was able to remove the mains. I'm gonna go ahead and remove the crank. It's gonna be kind of heavy, but let me see. You know what? It's stuck in there, so I'm gonna try to break it loose somehow. Let me see. All right, let me see if I'm able to break it loose. And then, there it is. There it is. Let's take this off, and I'm just gonna put it on the side. So like I said before, that's junk. I'm not gonna be able to reuse that one. And this engine has oil squirts, so that's nice. I'm gonna go ahead and remove all the pistons. So this is cylinder 1, and it doesn't look that bad. There it is. So that's piston 1. This is cylinder number 2. This thing is fried. As you can see, it's black. It got really hot. You're able to tell that it got really hot. So this is junk. I don't even care about that piston no more. This is cylinder number 3. This one's junk as well. See how you're able to see the heat spots? I mean, it got really hot as well. This is junk. And the last one, cylinder number 4. Let me tap it out. This one's still good, but I mean, at the same time, might as well replace all of them. And that's it. So all I gotta do left is grab my block. I'm gonna put my mains back on. The mains, they don't look that bad. So here's my mains, and I'm just gonna put them back. I'm gonna put them back on the block. The good thing about these mains is that I'm still able to reuse the block. So if I want to rebuild it, I could still rebuild it. And I think I used the engine is like 3,500, 3,000, I'm not sure. So if I'm able to rebuild this motor for less than that, I'll be happy. All right, so that's gonna be it for this video. For the next video, I'm gonna take this to the machine shop. I'm gonna see how much it's gonna cost to rebuild it, see if it's even worth it. Hopefully it is. Hopefully it's cheaper than getting a used one. If I get a new one or a rebuild one, they're pretty expensive. So I'm trying to do these as cheap as possible, but I also want to build it the right way. I don't want to have any issues once I put everything together. I just want the car to run with no problems. Like I said before, that's gonna be it for now. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. If you guys have any questions or any comments, feel free to comment down below. I'll see you guys for the next video. Thank you.